if you want to know how to create characters like this, then stick with me till the end of this video. Hello Nomad Sculpt artists, welcome to Sculpt Mode. Now if you are new here, then make sure to go subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you get notified and updated when I release a new video. Now let's go right into the video. Well, one of the safest and easiest way to create characters is using the technique called block art. And if most of you don't know what block art is, I will just explain it a little bit. Using the basic shape of the human body, I duplicate the sphere into 8 different parts. And doing it like this is very important because, well, it gives you more ability to to go fast and do the theme that you want without having to go over and add the sphere over and over again. Well, keeping it simple like this is very important because, well, it will give you more ability to be able to adjust the character and fit it into the concept that you want. Well, what I do is I reduce the multi-resolution so I can be able to have more control over the mesh while I'm working. Well, keeping it like this is very good and it helps me to be able to have more control over the mesh. So what I do is I just have the sphere and shape it to form the head and then refine it to go for the taste that I want. Well, since I'm working on a male character, well, it's very important that I know, well, the anatomy of a male character, well, before doing the sculpt. And that is what I would suggest for you guys. It's very important that you have knowledge of anatomy because it will help you make decisions later on when you're sculpting. Well, you don't want to be sculpting a male character, then it will end up looking like a female character. Well, that's very terrible. And that is not what I want you to have. So what I would suggest for you is to go check out a book called Anatomy for Sculptors. Well, that's a very important book and it's very good for you guys as an artist because it will help you and to keep you in track to be able to understand more about anatomy. And basically the tool that I use mostly when doing this is just the move brush, the gizmo, and the grab brush. Nothing more like that. I don't use any detail brush because at this stage I just want to keep it simple as possible because I will be refining it later on, but at this stage I'm just focusing on getting the silhouette and everything right before going to the final sculpt. I found out that so many artists jump through this process because of how hard it is. Well, you don't expect it to be easy. Well, block art can be really frustrating from the start, mostly when you're a beginner. This is very important that you know this, and in the future I'll be making a written tutorial on how to block out characters like this because I want you to know how to do this. Well, since I'm working on a main character, well, I'll be adding all this muzzle to be able to illustrate that I'm working on a male character. Yeah, that is very important when you're working on a male character. Well, if you know very well, the male character is more muscular than that of the female character. So I also have some reference image on the second screen while I'm working to keep me in touch while I'm working on the character. I always make sure to keep my mesh on low subdivision as possible so I can have more control over the mesh. I always have a concept in mind before starting the character, and that is very important because if you want to sculpt a character, very important you have concept in mind. When working on the block art, it's useful to break down the character into your primary forms and secondary forms. Your primary forms being the head, chest, and the hips, and your secondary forms being the arms, legs, and the other part of the body. At the block art stage, you always want to be checking your model from every angle, and this is very important and very necessary because through this way you will have consistent flow through the whole model. Make sure to gather as much reference as possible related to the character you're sculpting because it will help you to figure out how to do the next part rather than getting stuck in a particular section. There are a few problems that you will come across when blocking out a character. Number one, getting too attached to your work. Being focused on a particular work for so many hours is really frustrating, mostly when you start finding it difficult. I would suggest that you take some time off, either a day or some hours. Doing this exercise actually gives your brain some time to relax and recalculate before coming back into your block out. So basically I found out that I needed to add a sphere to form the bicep, so I added a sphere, shaped it to form the bicep part of the muscle. So doing that helped me a lot. So after taking some minutes off, I came back and realized that the neck was shorter than the taste that I was going for, so I had to adjust it and fit into the way I want. So well, this video was actually suggested by one of my subscribers. They told me in my previous video and comment that I should do a tutorial on how to sculpt the body. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating more tutorials on how to make characters like this in the future. So not just male characters, but also female characters, and how to block out characters. Well, that's because I care about you guys and I want you to learn this thing, because yeah, it's going to be helping you a lot to improve as fast as possible. Well, I found that is very useful and it's very good to learn this, and it will help you grow your skills very fast. And you, my brothers, we thank me for that. So at this point, I just focus on shaping the leg into going for the things that I want. Well, the leg is looking big for now, but there's no problem because I'll be shaping it later on to go for the taste that I want. Well, why I love blockout so much when creating characters is the ability that it gives you to be able to make certain adjustment before going to your final work. So I just focus on sculpting this, and after I mirror it, found out that the leg was too close to the other leg. So I decided to rename it and move it aside, then refine the leg a little bit before mirroring it over. Doing it this way, keeping the legs separate, is very important so you can be able to have more room. So what I do is I go through the character and I rename everything the way I want it, so I can be able to keep my scene neat while I work on the character, because it makes it easy for you to merge different parts later on. Well, it's time for me to block out the hand, so I start by adding a cube and reducing the multi-resolution to the lowest, then subdividing it and pushing it into place, then adjusting it to form the palm. I keep on refining this until I get the accurate shape that I want. Then I add a sphere and shape it into forming the thumb. Blocking out the hand really takes a lot of time based on the complexity of the hand, and it also takes a lot of patience and practice for you to have a good result. But don't worry, because in the future I'll be doing a step-by-step tutorial for you on how to block out hands like this. I keep on adding cube, reducing the multi-resolution, subdividing it, then shaping it to looking like the fingers. When blocking something as complex as the fingers, I always make sure to rename every object that I add in the scene, since I'll be duplicating the object later on. It's good to do it this way because it saves time and it speeds up the workflow. Since I'm giving the hand a particular pose, I'd make sure as possible to keep the hand looking realistic as possible. Then I adjust it, and now it's time to add a cube. I simply add a cube, reduce the subdivision level, subdivide it, then shape it into looking like a finger. Then I adjust it, rotating, scaling, and placing it into the position. After that, I duplicate it into 4 parts and adjusting it into forming the hand. When blocking out the hand, it's very important to gather as much reference as possible, mostly when you are a beginner, because at this stage of blocking out the hand, it's one of the most crucial part of the body and one of the most longest process of blockout. Now, this is where it becomes tricky. What I do at this point, I just shift them, adjust them, and place it right into place. I don't really focus on getting the details done yet, but I just want to get that basic shape and the basic structure of the hand before going into further sculpting. Well, bear in mind that your blockouts will always look terrible from the start, mostly when you are just starting out. It will look terrible, but basically you just want to keep on doing it and paying attention to reference. So at this point, I was not just blocking out the hand from my head, I was looking at reference images, checking to see how the hand works, and blocking out the hand from a particular pose was something that I had to pay attention to reference in order to achieve a good result. Definitely, you want to make sure that you're doing that and paying attention to reference and doing other stuff. Well, it helps a lot to keep your eye focused on particular stuff you're going for, and helps you to achieve a good result. Well, it's time to mirror everything that I have in the scene. So I just go in, clicking on every object and mirror it until I get the exact shape that I'm going for. Then I add a sphere and I'll shape it into the shape that I want, and I'll place it for the hips. And doing this gives me more volume. Then I adjust the abdomen part of the character and I'll give it more refined shape before I go into the final sculpt. Then from there, I check the character proportion for a bit adjustment, then I adjust the arms and place it right there. And this stage, what I just focus on is getting that silhouette right. Well, the fun thing about blockout is, the more you learn, the more you grow. That's one thing I've come to realize. The more you learn about blockout and anatomy as a whole, not just learning also, but practicing, the more you do that, the easier it becomes for you to create amazing characters, and the easier it becomes for you to adjust the shapes and create whatever you like. Well, I'll leave a link for you to go download and check out the book Anatomy for Sculptors. Yeah, it will help you a lot to improve your art. And this is all I have to say about blockout for now. I'm going to be releasing a step-by-step video. As I mentioned, I'm going to be releasing that very soon, so make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you won't miss out when that video comes up. And I will leave you from here, so I just want you to enjoy the rest part of this blockout, and you can still learn something from this. Question of the day: what part of the body do you find difficult to sculpt? Let me know in the comments down below. Who knows, it may be one of the next video I'll be working on. Just let me know. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, don't forget to click on the notification bell so you get notified when I release a new video. Well, that's all I have to say, and enjoy the rest part of this video.